Okay, we are on lesson 1 for our 6A unit on angles. Our first lesson is going to just be about how we name angles and the vocabulary that we're going to see throughout the unit. So the first thing we need to remember is what an angle is. An angle is actually formed by two rays that share a common endpoint. So we have two rays here. They meet at a point, and that common endpoint is called the vertex. When we need to name an angle, so we always have to give an angle a name in order to understand what we're finding or show what we have found. So when we are naming an angle, we can name an angle by the arc, and what that will look like is you'll have a line here that shows that that's the angle, and usually that inner angle is going to be denoted by a number or maybe even a lowercase letter. So this could be angle 2. So we would call it angle 2. We can also call it by the vertex. So we've got 3 points that are on here. Each would have a lettered name. So L, M, N, for example. And we would say this is angle M. Now, the one that we're going to use the most often, because we're going to see multiple angles next to each other, it's going to be when we have these 3 points. We're going to state the whole thing. So angle A, B, C, or we can write angle C, B, A. So it does not matter which way I go, but I'm following the points, and my vertex should always be that center letter. So let's go ahead and try it out for this example down here. So it just says there are different ways to name our angle. There's actually 4 total that we just talked about. So based on what we have here, we have A, B, C labeled as some points, and then this 1 in the middle. So we could call this angle 1. We could call this angle B, just the point that they all meet. We could call this angle A, B, C. Or we could go the other way, C, B, A. Next page. So I'm going to have you go ahead and try this, so please pause the video. You're going to name these angles in 4 different ways like we just practiced. Go ahead. When you're all set, unpause and check. Right, you should have 4 different ways. So you could have angle 5, angle K, angle JKL, and angle LKJ. Angle 4, angle G, angle FGH, and the other way, angle HGF. So when we've got some angles here, it says name these 3 angles in the picture. We've got 3 different things. So I'm just gonna use some different colors. We have an angle here, an angle here, and an angle over here. Now we know that this little box tells us that that is a 90-degree angle, just as a little note. But when we name these angles, we're going to follow, and we cannot just use angle E, because angle E is just where all of them meet. So I would have to say angle A, E, B, angle B, E, C. And what I'm doing here is I am just tracing the angle and stating the points that I hit. And the last one, angle C, E, D. And you could write all of these the opposite way. So you could say angle B, E, A, angle C, E, B, or angle D, E, C. So either of those would be correct for the 3 angles. Next, we're going to look at is our facts and definitions. So type of angle relationship we're going to look at first is adjacent angles. So adjacent angles, all that means is they are going to share a common ray. So we're going to write that down, share a common ray. In other words, they are next to each other. And this is the one angle relationship that doesn't really give us any information about how to solve for an angle, but it's just important to know that adjacent means next to each other. So we see that they share this ray here. They're right next to each other. Vertical angles are directly across from each other. And what that means for us, we're going to put a little star here, is that they are equal. So meaning angle A equals angle B. And if we take a look, these angles are forming an X. They're directly across from each other, so they are the exact same angle. Next page. We are also going to look at angles on a line. Angles on a line are exactly what they sound like. They're going to form a straight line. And because they form a straight line, we're going to put our star, they add to 180. So if we have our highlighter, here's the straight line that's being formed. So angle A plus angle B equals 180. And notice that I put a lowercase a and a lowercase b. That is different than uppercase because uppercase A and uppercase B are at different spots. So you have to be careful whether or not you are writing uppercase or lowercase letters with this unit. And truthfully, throughout all of math as you go. Next one we're going to look at are angles at a point. Angles at a point are going to form a circle. And since they form a circle, there are 360 degrees in a circle, so that means they add to 360 degrees. So if we take a look and use our highlighter, they're creating a circle around a point. So all three of these angles, angle A, angle B, and angle C, when I add them together, they're going to total 360 degrees. Next, we're going to take a look at complementary angles. Complementary angles form a 90-degree angle. Or a right angle. So that means they are going to add to 90. So 30 plus 60 here should give us 90 degrees. And we cannot assume that they add to 90 degrees unless there is this little box in the corner. And the very last one that we're going to take a look at is supplementary angles. Now, supplementary angles are actually the same exact thing as angles on a line. So they create a straight line. And they add to 180 degrees. So for example, here's our straight line. So 120 plus 60 would give us 180. Okay, that is all for this lesson.